So I believe you should be able to see it now. Yeah, so this is our new homepage. You can find out all about the new application. If you browse around, we have a lot of work that's gone into this to add a lot of information that helps you learn more about it. If you come to the documentation, it's being built daily by me and my other advocates on our team, which we're doing the best we can. If you see anything missing or have any questions, definitely ping us in Slack or in one of our other community channels. But yeah, this is, if you're not familiar with our old platform, we were one of the first GraphQL CMS out there and just made it a really easy way to do drag and drop schema building and getting super powerful applications built up quick. So without beating around the bush too much here, we have our new application. I'm going to go ahead and pop out here to the dashboard. You can see a whole bunch of projects in play. And I'm going to demonstrate the schema that I've been building, and I'm making a documentation on this to talk about some content modeling concepts for headless CMS in general. And what we have here is the dashboard, like you've probably seen 100 times for other applications. On the left, we have a schema builder. We have the content editing interface, and then we have an area to manage your assets, and then we have a built-in API playground. So if we go to the schema editor, we can do a quick survey and see kind of what we have to work with here to inspect what our schema looks like. And these would be the types that you have in your system. So what we have here is the top level concept is it's a coffee shop, right? It's a cafe, international cafe company that would have selling tea and coffee and pretzels or whatever else a typical cafe would sell. And so what we have at the very top level are individual stores. These stores are comprised of fields for the name, relationship to a brand, an actual map type, and then we have a relationship to a menu. If you break those down, I'm not going to go through each of these, but if you break it down to a menu, we have then, again, a name. We have the ability for a menu that's able to be comprised of multiple types. So we have union types, which is something we're super excited about, and I'll be demonstrating for you a little bit later. This includes drink and food, and then we have the individual store that's related to it. And so we have things like coffee. Coffee is a generalization model for something like, drinks are a generalization model for something like coffees and teas. So we have sort of an inheritance concept built into this model, and a lot of really powerful features that we'll look at once we step over here into the content. So inside of the content overview, and I'm rushing through this a little bit quickly because I don't want to show you as much the actual interface. That's something for you to create a free account for and play around with. What I really want to show off to you is the power of the GraphQL behind it. So what we have is underneath the top level store here, I've created a concept for the Spiced Islands coffee or cafe chain. We have two locations here. I'm going to open up the Berlin location. And so we have Spiced Islands Berlin. We have connected it to the Spiced Islands Cafe brand, which we could also inspect by looking at here. And simple brand type in this case. We have the map for where it's located, and then we have a menu created. If we hop over to that menu, we can see that the menu is comprised of menu items, and those menu items are these top level components such as the drinks or the food items. So it can be a combination of multiple types, and of those types, we've connected those to coffees or teas and other elements. So if I go to, let's say, making a new drink here, and I'm going to create a special version of a chai tea here. I'm going to go ahead and create. Actually, you know what? Let's do it this way. We're going to go ahead and create we're going to open up the new store for Spiced Islands Madrid. So we're going to go to store, make a new store here. We're going to call this Spiced Islands Madrid. And we're going to go ahead and connect this to our existing brand. We're going to go ahead and hop down here, and I have no geographical marker in my mind of what to type in. So I'm just going to see what we get for typing in Madrid directly. So whatever is the default position for Google Maps of Madrid, that's what we're getting today. Looks like it's probably a train station. Good, and we're going to go ahead and actually create a new menu. I'm going to go ahead and save this real quick. I'm not going to publish it just yet, but I'm going to go ahead and save it. And we're going to go ahead and make a new menu. And this is going to be the Madrid, the Spiced Islands ES menu for the Spanish menu. All right, so what we're going to go ahead and add here is a couple of menu items. And I'm going to go ahead and say, let's go ahead and create a new, let's go ahead and add a new document. We're just going to add 2 drink items and 2 food items here. And hopefully I'm not going to cause any offense with, with my very poor high school Spanish. I'm not even going to attempt translations on this meetup tonight. So what we have here is, or maybe we'll ask the crowd, we'll do some audience participation for some translations. We're going to go ahead and grab the ES Americano, which I have found after moving to Europe that what we call an Americano in the US is just whatever the rest of the world calls a coffee. That's how things work. This is the ES Americano. It is going to be a kind of coffee, and that coffee is going to be the Americano-based coffee type. The reason why I structured the content this way, here's some headless theory for you. The reason why I structured it this way is that if I have an Americano as a concept for a drink that I'm offering from my cafe chain, it's something that I would be, in theory, wanting to offer in multiple locales. So I would be wanting to sell that in Australia or in Berlin or in Madrid. And if I don't have any kind of a top level wrapper around that, I have a problem with attaching, where does my SKU go? Where does the individual identifier for that geo's business tracking unit? So I need to somehow be able to say, I need to be able to track this individual unit, this Americano that is unique to Spain, and track product constraints and sourcing and ERP and everything else. So I'm going to go ahead and make a size here. This is available as a large, as a small, as a regular. And once we have that, I'm going to go ahead and say save and publish my drink here. And I'm only have English translation right now, so I don't have to worry about the other ones. I could add the translation. I'll add a translation here in a minute. What we're going to do is go ahead and add, we'll do some translations on the food items because that's where we'll probably have the most relevant example of it. I'm going to go ahead and add another drink. We're going to go ahead and add the ES Espresso. That's fun to write. And we're going to go ahead and say this is only available as a small. And this is also going to be an extension of my base type, another coffee here. And this is going to be of my espresso type. So save and publish that. Let's go ahead and add a food item now to this list. And we're going to go ahead and add, I need some audience participation here. So I'm switching to the live comments. What's a classic cafe food item, classic food item in Spain? So I'm looking at the chat here. So first person in with a family friendly entry. I need a cafe food item. Tapas. Okay. So we have tapas. And it looks like I'm going to probably need a base. I'm going to need to have a new base for that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and say, create and add a new document. This case, it's, I don't have a type for that. So let's see here, salad, soup, sandwich. It's kind of like all of the above, right? I'm going to go ahead and say this is, we're going to call it a baked good for now. Because it's like, it's like the top level of everything. So
yeah, that should be good.
What's that?
That should be good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we go ahead and say save and publish the top level item. Save and publish that. This is going to be my ES tapas. I have misspelled tapas. Good. All right. And then we'll say, yeah, I think that's probably good. Made fresh, of course. And we will say, yes, go ahead and save and publish this. Good. And so now we have on our menu, we have the ES Americano, the ES Espresso, the ES Tapas. We'll go ahead and hit save. Save and actually I'm going to save and publish this menu. So now what we have is a new store location that is the Spice Islands Madrid. It's the menu location. We have the brand, we have the menu. I'm going to go ahead and save on this again. And we're going to look back and notice that it's not published yet. So we're going to go ahead and fix that real quick. I can either publish it from inside of the content entry, or I can just go ahead and publish it here as well. So now that we have a published item, I'm going to look at some actual querying of data here for our the GraphQL part of the GraphQL meetup here. And then we're going to do a little bit of audience participation in a few minutes about generating a business idea that we're going to show how fast it is to model something with GraphQL inside of GraphCMS. So be getting your creative juices started. We're going to have some fun here. So inside the API playground, we're going to just go ahead and grab top level here. This is a really nice playground. It's based on GraphQL, which you're probably all familiar with. It supports query history, which is nice. You can see that I have run a few queries recently. We have the new Explore functionality where you can, I'm on the wrong API. Oh, so we have the ability to explore what the API offers. And the reason why this looks a little bit different is that right now I am viewing the management API. So we have two primary GraphQL APIs available for every project. You have the management API, which does everything for your project, structuring the project, so you could programmatically create a GraphCMS project for a customer. We also have then the project API, which then actually is all of the content that you would expect. So these are all the generated types that you could drill down on if you wanted to explore that way and show basic information. So something that you're probably familiar with seeing if you've experienced the latest updates to the graphical interface, but it's something that we've added now as well, which is really nice. I'm just going to do this from scratch here. And so we'll say stores. We're going to go ahead and grab the location and just pick up the latitude and longitude off of that. I want to grab the name. So first query, we can just kind of inspect it. We get what we would expect, right? We get the islands Berlin, we get the islands Munich. I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm looking for the, I'm just going to filter this down here we have a whole bunch of filters we support, but I'm going to go ahead and in this case, do a simple search here where I'm limiting it down to just the Berlin store again. So I'm going to do, in this case, a simple search for Berlin. In this case, I've been able to limit it down to the Berlin office. We offer a whole bunch of filters. You have Boolean types. You have all kinds of powerful features that we can maybe look at in a minute. So we have the item here. We're going to go ahead and grab the menu. And because this is a union type, we have to query that with inline fragments. So I'm going to say the menu. On the menu items, we're going to say on the drink type, we're just going to go ahead and grab the name. And on drinks, we have special values, right? So drinks, we're going to say that this has the sizes that are available for that drink. And I added in another feature for that as well, I believe, or maybe that just supports sizes. I think that one's just sizes. So we're going to go ahead and say that just give me the sizes there. I'm going to go ahead and drill down again onto the onto the food items. Oops, on food. And we're going to get the name on that. And we're going to grab the fresh, made fresh. So we're going to go ahead and spec that, and we get the data we would expect. We get the ability to view our entire query. It's a really powerful, flexible way to work with content modeling. I mean, GraphQL we know and love because it's so it's so descriptive for the data we would expect. And what's really powerful is that we can now say from a content generation perspective, from a CMS perspective, content management, we're able to just generate all of this descriptive language around our data by using a simple drag and drop interface. So really a powerful syntax if you're used to working with some of the other CMSs out there. So we have some basic structure there. We can filter things down pretty aggressively. Let's say if you wanted to look at all of the drinks that we have available, let's see what we can drum up here for unique values. We're going to say on the drinks, I'm doing this totally live here. So we'll say the drinks, we'll say the only drinks that have sizes that only come in small sizes. What do we have here? We get the Americanos, we get the frappe and the espresso. So it's a really powerful way to query your data, to filter your data. We also support mutations, so you can write data back into the system in a really powerful and flexible way. Let's say we wanted to make this as a mutation. I'm trying to think of what I want to create here. I think I will make a sandwich because I like sandwiches. We're going to go ahead and say mutation, and we're going to go ahead and say create sandwich. I'm going to pass in a data operator here. I'm going to return just the ID on that. So on the data object here, we're going to need to give it a name, and we're going to need to give it a call this a tapas sub, because it can be like whatever you want it to be. Got that in some strings there. And let's see what else we got. We're going to grab the sauces that are available for that. I'm going to go ahead and connect that to, we'll create a new sauce in this case. And the sauce needs to be what am I going to call that sauce? I need another audience participation here. What's a good sauce that you would expect to find in Madrid? So I'm looking at the chat here, giving us some moments. If somebody says tapas sauce, I'm going to be really upset. Oh, there's a really good sandwich recommendation. Bocadillo calamares. Okay, I like that. We're going to change out the sandwich here. What's the sauce I would expect there? Carlos, help me out.
Yeah, I can help you out. So someone had mentioned bravas, which also is kind of a sauce. So you can just put that.
Bravas?
Yeah, BRIABAS. Yeah, bravas.
Or with a V, bravas.
Yeah.
All right,
so
good.
you can see tapas and then bravas. So that one.
So you'll notice here that I have this nested create statement. So I'm going to go ahead and run this here, and I'm missing the required field here. So I'm going to go ahead and say on my sandwich, I have the name here, and we're going to say the available toasted. It's probably true.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, we'll go ahead and run that. We have the ID. Let's go ahead and inspect in our content. And so under sandwiches, we now have I didn't pass in the which stage to put it in, so it's draft by default. So we have the bocadillo de calamares. We'll go ahead and publish that. And we'll see that I also don't have my sauces published yet. And it's saying, hey, you have a reference that's not published as well. We'll go ahead and capture that now as well. Go ahead and hit publish. And we're going to go ahead and use this as an opportunity to say, actually, this sandwich, that name, that's not an English name. That's a Spanish name. We're going to go ahead and pop that out. Pop in the translation. I don't know. So calamari, right? But I don't know what bocadillo is actually. Carlos, one more time.
Yeah, I think it's pretty difficult. I'm gonna just double check here in Google Translate.
Yeah, Google Translate to the day.
And that's
Also, you
gonna
can
be a
translate
squid.
live. And
Yeah, squid. What? A squid sandwich. That's like the Google translation.
squid sandwich.
Which,
I like
yeah,
it.
which kind of makes sense. Yeah.
We're gonna run a squid sandwich, which
Yeah. That's fine.
A nice toasted squid sandwich. All right, go ahead and hit save and publish. And there we go. So now we have the translation there for the squid sandwich. If we run back there and just look at what it looks like to query content that is translated, we're just going to grab all of our sandwiches here. And in most cases, I do not have translation. So what I'm going to run here first is just the name. And what I get here is the only item that I have available with that translation. If I were to pass in as a fallback parameter here, like this, now I get then my alternative. So that's my very West Coast American sandwich originality there, fried egg sandwich. But we have then the fallback mechanism says, if I don't have the Spanish translation available, then just give me what you have for a fallback locale. So a really powerful mechanism as well for working for locales. Really good. Somebody says they're hungry. I hear you. So that is a whirlwind tour of GraphCMS. I'm not quite sure how are we doing on time, Carlos, because I got to make sure that I respect the other speakers here. How much time do we got?
You get like a 10 if you can finish
10
in 10
minutes. So we're going to do some speed schema generation in 10 minutes. So I need a business idea. Do we have anybody who's already chipped in anything?
Not yet, but I'm pretty sure that they are gonna just.
So we're going to give it.
So what? Yeah. What do you mean with a business idea? Just for the people to know.
Anything. So could be a coffee shop, could be a brewery, could be HR management platform. If you want to be boring. Oh man, Frederick, you mentioned aioli sauce. That would have been a nice one. Oh well.
Yeah.
All right, so we have one more. We give one more minute here, then I'll have to just generate something off the top of my head here.
Yeah.
All right.
Record store.
What's that?
A record store.
Record store.
Yep.
I'm not sure. What's a record store? A record store. Record store. Yeah. All right, here we go. All right, so we'll hit the history of branding here. So we're going to call this Puget Sound Records, which probably exists. Puget Sound is the tiny inlet of water around where I used to live. Puget Sound Records, and we'll say good. So that's fine. We're going to go ahead and put it in Germany anyways, even though it's closer to this one over here. But for the rate of our mutation and reading and all that kind of stuff tonight, we're going to do it here. So a record store, we need to have things like, and I'm going to use the free account here just to demonstrate that we have one. So free account for developers. Let's see here. So record stores obviously need to have records, which they sell. All right. So we're going to go ahead and say, pop this off at the initial is a record. And so the question is this going to be a record like traditional, like vinyl, or is this going to be like somebody that maybe has got like music attached to digital downloads? Do we offer digital downloads? Audience?
I think we can go with digital downloads.
Digital
I guess.
Downloads?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go with the track. And obviously it would be nothing without having an actual artist behind it. And we're going to need to have a publisher. We're going to need to have a production house because we are nothing without our money. All right. So that's a fairly simple, straightforward model to start with. Let's go ahead and start connecting this out a little bit. Somebody popped in final, but too late. All right. We're going to go ahead and say that on our record, we're going to have a title. I have a keyboard. It's kind of dying on me a little bit, so I have to be careful how I write things here. We're going to say that the title is going to be displayed as a title field. We're going to go ahead and say this needs to be a required field, and we're just going to leave it at that for the moment. And what we need there, after we have the on the record, we're going to go ahead and add in a relationship to our artist. So we're going to go ahead and make this as a relationship to artist. We're going to check a couple of things here. So the record could have multiple artists. So we're going to allow multiple values. We're going to go ahead and configure the reverse side. And we're going to say that an artist could also be a part of multiple records because it's very common to have that exist. So in this case, we've defined a many-to-many relationship. I challenge you to create a many-to-many relationship that quickly on any other platform. And we're going to go ahead and say that we need to have a producer for that record. And that producer, I guess you actually can have, I don't really know the record industry that well. I'm guessing you can have multiple producers. I don't know if it's like a main producer and a sub producer. If that was the case, you could make the same reference twice and call it different things, naming the edge, if you will. So you would have the main producer as a reference and the sub producer as a reference. But we'll go ahead and say we'll allow multiple values in this case to the producer. Configure the reverse field. And we're going to go ahead and say that we're going to allow multiple values the reverse way as well, because if a producer only has one record, either they got really lucky or they are out of business today. So we will go ahead and hit create. And let's see here. So we have the artist, we have the producer. Now we need the tracks. Now here's going to be a little bit of a different situation. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to call this the track. And we're going to go ahead and say we're going to allow multiple values here. I am going to make a restriction, though, on the reverse side and say that this can't actually be, that a track can't be a part of multiple records. If it's on another record, we're going to call that essentially a new track. And so that's, I think, a common way to track that. No pun intended. All right, so if we hop over to artist, let's give it a couple of quick values. We're going to give it a name. We'll do first, last on that. And we're going to go ahead and say that the producer will also have a name. They also will need to have a website. We're going to go ahead and use this as an opportunity to pass in a couple of other fields here. So on the record, we're going to go ahead and add an explicit flag. Wrong field there. A Boolean operator for explicit values. And we're going to go ahead and say that, no, we'll go ahead and add in a float here for price. The diffuser on my light just fell off, so that probably just got a lot brighter for you all. All right, field required. No. Good. So we have a quick model there. And the last item then, I think we've connected everything together. Let's go ahead and look at our content now. A track, we need to have an actual name. Make this field required. We're going to go ahead and drop in a asset. Just see if I can actually kill that light there real quick. That's a little better. And we're going to add in the asset on there for the actual audio file. Okay, make that required as well. So let's take a look at our model. Let's see here. So we have a track. We have a record. We'll call this the Madrid streets. And we need an artist. Create a new one here. And we'll call this. That's dangerous. We're gonna just go with something real random here because I don't want to even attempt writing Spanish live. And we're gonna go ahead and say, producer. Give me a name for producer, Carlos.
Wow, that's a good question though.
It's gotta be a fake one. Something.
Siddhartha.
Z?
Siddhartha Sid. When do you mean a producer is a brand or is a person? Or
somebody who basically pays for the CD.
Yeah, so Siddhartha, I guess. The next speaker, Siddhartha. Sid is with S, but yeah, you get. Yeah, that's fine.
All right, good. We'll go ahead and make this then. The website is www.siddhartha because everything is clever in music land. So we'll go ahead and save and publish that. That might be a real website. Don't go to there. I have not verified it. We'll go ahead and do a quick track. In this case, we'll just call this Tapas Original. Stick with a theme. I'm not going to attach an audio file here because I think I'm getting a little tight on time for now. But it was just a classic upload. Oh, I actually made it required. So, yeah. That wasn't smart of me. Let's see what we got here. We're going to do a quick kind MP3. What do we get? Top result. I don't think we can actually get a file here. I'm not going to sponsor plagiarism or pirating here on a live channel. So we're going to avoid attaching a track for now, and we'll just call that my bad. And we're going to go ahead and say not explicit. The price is $9.99. And we're going to go ahead and save and publish that. If we go then to our API Explorer, we can already look at that and say, okay, we have the records. And we're going to look at the artist, publisher, producer, actually. Tracks is going to be empty, but there we are. And whether or not it's explicit, actually, pull that one off. I'm going to go explicit. So we have basically within 10 minutes, we were able to model out a very rough idea for a record shop. And then we're able to make multiple models. So we created 4 models, interconnected them, technically attached 5 of them together. So we had then created the graph. GraphQL is up and running. I mean, that's really fast for getting started with GraphQL, for reasoning about schema generation for somebody who's even new to GraphQL. It's a great way to learn it and be able to benefit from the powers of GraphQL right away. So that was a whirlwind tour. We have the free developer accounts. Hop in there, build cool stuff, test it out.